Thank you for your patience. Always grateful for you guys tuning in. I'm Les Raymond with the Mindful Movement. Today's practice is going to be fairly basic, foundational practice to start the day. We're going to get a little nuanced with a couple of movements today. It's going to be a real fine line from really easy to surprisingly challenging. So I'll do my best to coach you through that. We're going to just start off by connecting with our breath. So if you could get yourself in a position that you feel you don't have to work real hard to maintain a fairly upright position. So any prop that you need to allow for that, then get your favorite prop. We're going to do an even metered breath. So there's going to be no holding, and it's going to be even, meaning the duration of the inhale and the duration of the exhale are going to be as close as you could get them to each other. If you'd like, you could add the ujjayi breathing, the sound. So for those not familiar with that, imagine making a loud sigh, but in both directions, but with the mouth closed. That will give you something to rest your attention on, the audible sound that you hear from the inside of your awareness. So checking in with your posture, getting as upright as you can without doing too much work to hold it. The mouth is going to be closed. The tongue is going to be gently connected to the roof of the mouth. We're going to be breathing deep in location, trying to expand from the bottom up, so belly, then ribs. And let's start out with something that feels comfortable to you. Usually 4 in, 4 out is very accessible for most folks. And then as that can organically stretch out to 5 or 6, then please allow for it. And just try to keep that meter, that relationship with the inhale, the exhale, balanced. So here we go. Closing your eyes if you'd like. Keeping the attention on the breath, following its movement, attention to its sound. And a few more cycles. And then allowing your breath to find its natural pace. And then opening your eyes if they're closed. Okay. Now that we've arrived here, let's go to a lying position. So we're going to be supine on our back. And let's just start off with a nice gentle hug. Go ahead and grab your knees in your chest. A little rocking side to side. A little back massage on the floor. Okay. All right. Now, the first position we're going to be working on here is a little deceitful. I mean, it looks quite easy, but there's a very small adjustment that makes it a lot more challenging. And what we're looking for is to be on the edge of our challenge. We want to be able to do it, but not like holding our breath to fight through it. So there needs to be a little bit of a challenge, but not too much that you can't do it. And what we're going to do is we're going to get our legs up. Now, the knees are going to be wider than the feet. The feet are going to be pretty close. They might be touching. Now, if you look closely from here, this is easy. I'm not really doing work. And what I'm looking for is I want to roll my pelvis. So I want to think of bringing your tailbone and your sacrum up off the ground. So there's going to be a connection of your low back kind of pushing into the ground. And that's, even though it's a very subtle movement, it's kind of dramatic change in what I have to do to hold my legs in that position. So this is easy, and this is not so easy. Very subtle. So if you're not working to hold your legs up there, you might be slightly out of position. So just try to challenge yourself. Now hold that for a little bit and see if you could breathe into that low back. So on your inhale, increasing the pressure created between your low back and the floor. And if you're in the right position, it's going to feel like, you're a little shaky almost. Like it's hard, but you can do it. And then let's rest, bring the legs down. And we're going to do some movements out of that position. Think of that as the home base. If it's too much for you, you could kind of drop into the easier position, but if you can, keep your attention on that connection of the low back. So as we start to move our legs, we don't lose that connection. So when you're ready, you're going to come back up into that position. All right, so you should be able to kind of slide your hand between your hips and the ground. They're off the ground. The knees are slightly wider than your feet. Now holding the left leg exactly where it is, just going to lower the right leg a little bit. Just a little bit, just so that you are not compromising that position between the low back and the floor. Bringing the right leg back up and lower the left leg. One side might feel more challenging than the other. Notice I'm not going very far. I could go farther. It might be harder for me to talk if I do. It's surprisingly challenging if you're holding that position. What's really amazing to me is babies, as we develop to move, they will hold their legs in this position without any of the adults in the room teaching them how. So it's not an easy thing they're doing as they learn how to move, which is kind of cool. It's like we know that this is how we have to do it. Okay, one more each side. Notice as the leg goes down, the pelvis will want to dump and you want to work really hard not to let it. And then let's rest. We're going to do one other activity out of that position where we're going to be moving side to side a little bit. All right, so you can do this with your arms out on the floor. You could also do it with your hands cradling your head and your elbows kind of connected to the ground. That's the position I like to do this one, but you can play around. All right, so what we're going to do is get our legs in that same position. So reconnect, low back is pressing into the floor, hips are off the ground. Again, I'm going to cradle my head here, and I'm going to hold this configuration with my legs. So the shape that my legs make, the knees wider and the feet maybe touching or really close, is going to stay constant. And I'm just going to slowly let my legs go to one side, but keep both elbows or both arms, both shoulders on the ground. So it might not go very far. Think of going slow where you're controlling. You're keeping that connection with the low back and the ground, coming back to center, and go to the right. And look at the shape your legs make and see if you can maintain that constant shape. So one foot is not going to pass the other. The relationship of one knee to the other is going to stay constant as the whole structure slowly moves from side to side. The goal is not to go as far as you can. Keep your attention on the position, keeping a strong relationship between your lower back and the ground beneath you. Noticing all the nuance along every step of the pattern. Working inward, building more connection with what's going on the inside, how you can control your body. And finish up evening out your sides, and then rest. Okay, we're going to flip over on the belly. And we'll start nice and easy here. We're just going to rest our head on our hands. A couple breaths here. Okay, and then let's just lift our head a few times. So head's going to come up, head's going to come down. For now, the gaze is going to be down. All right, and now we're going to do something similar where it's going to look kind of easy, but we're going to make this little adjustment that's going to really increase the challenge. So we're going to take our hands and make like a triangle with your thumbs and your index finger. Now, the farther away that triangle is from your head, the higher up, the harder this is going to be. For most folks, a good place to start is where the thumbs are matching up somewhere around the top of the forehead. And then if that's easy, you could start to move it a little farther away. So with the head down, gaze down, bring your head as high as you comfortably can. Now if you'll notice, chances are your belly is kind of smushed on the floor. We're going to work the same musculature to get that belly off the ground. So the same way that we got our hips off the ground, it's posterior tilt of the pelvis. So we're going to bring the front of the pelvis and your front ribs together to get your belly off the ground. It's going to look like this. It's subtle, and everything changes. When you do this, the amount of force that you have to push into the ground with your arms dramatically changes. The amount of work you're doing in your abdominal muscles dramatically changes. And let's see if we could stay there and breathe. Just so ideally, somebody could slide a hand under your belly button, between your belly button and the floor. And relax. Again, what's really amazing is if you watch a 4, 5, 6-month-old child, they will put themselves through that position, which is strange because it's hard. Like, we do things really hard without anybody teaching us. And now we're just reconnecting with those foundational principles of the way that we move. All right, let's try it again. Make that triangle. You can make adjustments. So if you want to make your triangle farther away and try it harder, you can. If it was too hard, you can bring it back. So the head comes up, the gaze is down, and then belly comes off the ground. A lot of tension in your lower abdominal muscles. It's easy to collapse in the shoulders here. Think of working really hard through your elbows, your forearms, and your hands, pushing down through the ground. Lots of activity around the musculature, around the armpits, basically. That whole shoulder girdle is really lit up. Holding that position, see if you could turn your head. You haven't really lifted the head, you're not looking forward. Think of staying with your head gaze down, just turning side to side. And relax. All right, we're going to take it one small step farther. If that's plenty hard for you, then just, you could do the same thing again. But if you want to keep exploring, set the triangle. Bring your right knee up a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing. So the head comes up, and then the belly comes off the ground. Now we're going to build a connection from the left arm to the right knee. There's a relationship between our shoulders and our opposite hips. So the left arm is pulling down on the ground to the right knee. And we're going to take the right hand and reach and bring it back. And reach, bring it back. Left shoulder's working really hard here. Reach, bring it back, and rest. And we'll do a set of that on the other side. So, set the triangle. Left knee slides up your side here. Head comes up. Belly comes off the ground. Tension in the lower abdominals. Bring your attention to the right arm. The right arm is pulling the ground towards the left knee. The left knee is pulling the ground towards the right arm. And then reach the left arm. Replace. Reach. Got one more here. Reach. And rest. So from a distance, those might look kind of easy, but as you probably just experienced, not so easy. The difference of getting that position in our lower spine really transforms that from a fairly lazy activity to quite the activity, very active. All right, let's move to the next position. We're going to come up in quadruped. Middle fingers are relatively parallel. Hands are spread wide. Knees are under the hips. Head is as high as it comfortably can be. Think of the head in a position where you can scan your environment if you wanted to. Okay, just rocking back and forth here a little bit. Think of pushing the floor, pushing through the floor as you rock forward, maintaining that posture. All right, now we're going to do real subtle movement here. Just take your hips and move them in a slight circle. Just think of rolling the ball around in the socket, that hip joint. Kind of hitting the corners a little bit as you go back. Maybe a slightly bigger circle. You're still rocking forward and back, but it's really driven by the moving the hips around in a circle and then switch directions. And we're going to transition from this quadruped position, let's go ahead and center, to a seated position called a tall sit. So first, let's get used to the knees being off the ground. So from this position, just lifting your knees up a little bit and then putting them down. Again, lifting the knees up, putting them down. One more, lifting the knees up and putting them down. All right, so this is going to start with that lifting of the knees. And we're going to move contralaterally, meaning the left leg and the right arm are going to come off the ground simultaneously, and we're going to put our butt on the ground. It's going to look like this. The knees come up, lifting the left leg and the right hand, and we're in this tall sit. In this tall sit position, this arm that's holding you up is actively pushing the floor away to maintain your posture, maintaining control of your head. You should be able to turn your head, scan your environment. This lower leg is fairly upright, if you can. You could play with that leg a little bit. Got any movement there in the hip? All right, we're going to take this right back to where we came from. So the hips are going to come up off the ground. So we're going to push down our left hand and our right foot to get our hips up and back to the quadruped position. And we're going to try that 2 more times on this side. So the knees come up and just sit down nice and gentle. Try to avoid any flopping. If you do flop, it's all right. It's a practice. You'll get better at it. Maybe just checking, is my head free to move here? Can I move my eyes? Can I breathe? All right, back to quadruped. Hips come up. All right. If you rock back, you get a little relief off that left shoulder. And then rocking forward, last rep here, knees up, and tall sit. All right, let's do this on the other side. So back to the quadruped position. Now the left hand and the right leg are going to come off the ground into the tall sit here. Check the ability to move your head, your eyes. The right hand is pushing down, maintaining that posture. And then back to quadruped. 2 more times, knees up, tall sit. And back to quadruped. And let's do one more. Knees up and tall sit. And back to quadruped. Okay. So now sitting back, we're going to, a little different from that tall sit, we're going to bring one leg back. So you have one leg in front of you, one leg kind of behind you. And just take a moment here and see how upright you can get here. This is a lot more challenging to be upright. So if you have trouble with it, then I assure you, if you practice it, the body will adapt. Just feel what this is like. If you need to use your hands as like anchors to see if you can get a little taller, you could explore that a little bit. We're going to be doing a little moving out of this position, but first I want you to just try this position on the other side. So any way you'd like, just go ahead and switch your legs. And see what is it like to work that upright nature on this side. It's bound to feel a little different. Your left leg and your right leg, they might be like best friends, but they're going to be different. All right, let's see if we could start getting a little movement out of this position. So we have our right leg in front of us, and think of turning towards your right knee, and then from the hip, just kind of hinging over. So not like falling and collapsing your spine, but think of, with your chest remaining up, shifting your weight towards that right knee so you feel that right knee kind of push into the ground and come back. Let's do that a couple more times. Just leaning into that right knee and back. Leaning into it, and now reach the left hand past the right knee. Do that a couple times. Reaching a little farther, letting that right leg bear a little more load. Okay, let's do that on the other side. So any way you'd like, just switch sides. Left leg's in front now. Turn your torso, remaining tall towards the left knee. Let your weight come forward till you feel a little load on that leg, and come back. 2 more times like that, just nice and easy. Just building a connection. Increasing this relationship with the left knee and the ground. So now going forward, reach the right hand right past that left knee and come back. Going to do 2 more. Go a little bit farther reach each time. Reach. And 1 more. Reach. All right. Now we're going to work on transitioning from one side to the other. Now, you could use your hands however you'd like. So for some folks, you got to put your hands on the floor and move all dramatic like that. The next step would be keeping your hands on your body as you switch from one side to the other. And for those that feels pretty easy, see if you could switch sides without using your hands at all. And they're just very subtle increments of like more challenge. You're just practicing, can I control myself in a very small space here? All right, now let's put these things together. So I got my right leg in front. So catch up to me if you're on the other side. We're going to do the reach with the left arm. We're going to try to come up on that knee. Now for some folks, this doesn't feel good. So if it doesn't, don't come up. Just do the reach like you did last time. But for those that are interested, reach and then rise up just a little bit. Come back with control. See if you could avoid any flop on the floor. Switch sides. Right hand reaches past the left knee. Rise up. Just a little bit. Come back. Let's do 2 more each side. Back, following the right knee with the left hand. Coming up. Coming down with control. Soft landings here. Switch sides. The right. Working our way up. 1 more each side. Last one, right hand following the left knee, anchoring on that left knee and coming up. And relax. All right. The hard part's over. We'll do a little bit of stretching here. Just come back into that quadruped position. Okay, we're going to bring the right foot next to the right hand. And just open up the front of that left hip a little bit. We could take the right hand, pry that right knee out a little bit. Just a little exploring here. And then with the hands back on the ground, we're going to start to straighten the right leg just a little. Once you feel a gentle stretch, come back forward. Just going back and forward, nice and fluid. So the head comes up as the hips come forward and down. And then you could drop the head as you extend that right knee a little bit. Let's do 1 more here. Okay, and then before we switch sides, a little twist. So for some, you could put the hand on the knee and get some leverage to turn. If you'd like, you could grab the back foot. If you want to go deeper, you could come down onto your forearm on the left side. And then coming out of this, bringing the right leg back, left leg next to the left hand. Taking a moment here, opening the front of that right hip. Maybe taking the left hand, prying that left knee away a little bit. Seeing what space is available for you there. Hand back on the ground. Pushing the floor away with your left leg. Let the head relax here. Hips come forward again, head comes up. A few more times. Pushing the left knee straight. Ooh, this feels a little cranky to me today, this left side. And let's do 1 more. And then a little twist. For some, the left hand on the left knee. Use that leverage to just turn towards the left knee. If you'd like, go ahead and grab the back foot. And if you'd like, get a little deeper on the ground here, coming down onto the forearm or elbow. And whichever way feels easy, working your way out of that position. Let's go knees wide here. Big toes fairly close, if not touching. And drop back into a nice easy child's pose. Hands could be overhead. They could be back by your side. Whatever's right for you. Couple more deep breaths here. And then let's finish in a seated position. So if there's a tool you'd like to use, sit on. I'll use a block today because it's here. So this was a little exploration into just some of the foundational human patterns, little variations of them, which is what, if you've been watching me, is just something I encourage to always be reconnecting with. I feel like you can't do too much of the very, very most basic stuff. They create a platform for you to put all the other activities and exercises and such on top of that that you like to do. These could be used just to start your day on the right, and just kind of tune the body up so you're ready for the day. They could also be used anytime where you want to do some moving. Maybe you don't have time to go take a class or go to the gym, but you want it to be productive and nourishing. You could sprinkle these practices into your life. They could be done at night to wind down before bed. And they could also be used as a bit of a warm-up to prepare you for more strenuous activity, like maybe a resistance training session at a gym or something like that. We'll finish just getting back into connection with our breath. So just check in with your posture. Hopefully there's a greater sense of ease in just setting your seated posture after opening the body up a little bit. Maybe it just doesn't take as much effort. There's more of a finesse to the position, a little less brute force. And we'll finish with the same pattern that we started with, that even metered Ujjayi breathing, adding the sound if you'd like. And what I'm hoping you to see, is there any difference? Is the duration of the inhale and the exhale, is it just a little easier to go a little longer now that the body has maybe created a little space? So again, with the mouth closed and the tongue pressed, not firmly, but the tongue is connected to the roof of the mouth. Eyes open or closed. You're going to go in for somewhere in the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 range, whatever feels natural, and then out for the same amount. And again, adding the Ujjayi sound if you'd like. Keeping your attention on the path of the breath and the sound. Couple more. And then allowing your breath to find its natural pace. Opening your eyes if you like. that felt nice. I hope it felt nice for you too. As always, I want to thank you for tuning in and joining me for this morning practice. Please share with the community what you're getting out of it, and please also share through comments if there's anything that you would like out of these. I have a lot of tools in my toolkit, so if there's something that you are looking for, I'll do my best to accommodate. So please don't hesitate to comment. And if you feel there's someone in your life that you think could benefit from a practice like this, then please make it an offering to them. Share. I hope you enjoyed the practice today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.